Flexion. Ladies and gentlemen, you see in this life, not everyone walking beside you is walking with you. Some people come to lift you, others come to drain you. Reflection. And if you don't learn the difference, you'll lose your peace trying to please the wrong ones. We often think danger comes in the form of weapons or enemies. Flexion. But the real danger comes in silence and smiles and fake support and secret jealousy. You got to learn to protect your energy like your life depends on it. Because it does. Reflection. There are 6 kinds of people you must avoid if you want to rise, if you want to protect your dream, if you want peace that lasts longer than applause. Reflection. Let me tell you something. Success will not survive around the wrong circle. No matter how gifted you are, if your environment is poisoned. Reflection. Your spirit will wither. They are the ones who look at your dreams and see their own failures reflected back at them. The moment you start talking about something big, something bold, reflection, something that sets your soul on fire, they smirk, they roll their eyes. They tell you to be realistic. But what they're really saying is flexion. Don't outgrow me. These are the dream killers. The people who cannot stand to see someone reach for the things they once reached for and let slip away. Reflection. Their discouragement comes disguised as advice. They'll say, I'm just trying to protect you, or I don't want you to get hurt. But deep down, reflection, they're not protecting you. They're protecting their comfort zone. They live in a small box, and the moment you start reaching outside of it, they get uncomfortable. Reflection, because your ambition reminds them of their surrender. Your hunger exposes their laziness. Your courage reveals their fear. So they try to pull you back down where they feel safe. Flexion, where your light won't shine too bright, where your growth won't make them feel small. They can't celebrate you because your success forces them to face what they gave up on. Reflection, when you tell them about your dream, they'll laugh, not because it's funny, but because it scares them. They'll remind you of every reason it might fail, every statistic, flexion, every past mistake, every person who didn't make it. They'll try to convince you that it's impossible, that people like you don't make it that far, that the world doesn't work that way. Reflection. But what they're really saying is, I was afraid to try, and I want you to be afraid too. If you listen to them long enough, you'll start to shrink your dream to fit their comfort. Reflection. You'll start doubting your own gift. You'll start thinking, maybe they're right, maybe it's too big, maybe it's not your time. Reflection. That's the danger of being surrounded by people who've stopped believing. They don't just destroy your hope, they bury it under their fear. Reflection. You have to understand, not everyone will see what you see. Not everyone is meant to understand your vision. It was given to you for a reason. When they laugh, smile. When they doubt, move. Reflection. When they question, build. Because there will come a day when those same people who mocked you will say they always believed in you. But by then, reflection, you'll be too busy living the dream they said was impossible. So never let their disbelief become your reality. Protect your dream like it's your lifeline. Because it is. Reflection. It's what keeps your heart beating when the world goes silent. Don't argue, don't prove, don't explain. Just work. Just build. Just rise. Reflection. And let your results speak the language their fear will never understand. There are some people who never bring light. When they enter your space, you feel it. The air gets heavier. Reflection, your energy fades, your focus disappears. They don't shout, they don't fight, but somehow every time you leave their presence, you feel smaller, weaker, more uncertain. These are the people who drain you without ever saying they will. They come smiling, but what they really want is the strength you carry, the calm you protect, the faith you fought for. Reflection. They are the takers, emotional thieves who feed off your energy because they've lost their own. They appear at your highest moments, not to celebrate, but to siphon your joy. Reflection. They call you when they need advice, comfort, motivation, and you give it because your heart is kind. But when the tables turn, when you need a word, a hand, or even a minute of their time, reflection, they're nowhere to be found. They disappear when your well runs dry because they were never there for you've only for what you could give. And the painful truth is, reflection, you've been mistaking their dependency for friendship. Energy vampires disguise themselves as people in need, but what they really need is control. They drain you to feel full. Reflection. They exhaust you to feel alive. The more you give, the more they demand. The moment you set a boundary, they call you selfish. The moment you pull back, they say you've changed. Reflection. And maybe you have, because you finally realized your peace is priceless. You finally understood that not everyone who reaches out deserves access. Reflection, you have to learn to recognize them not by what they say, but by how you feel after they leave. Do you feel inspired or do you feel empty? Do you feel seen or do you feel used? Reflection, because real connections give life. False ones take it away. Some people don't want to grow with you. They just want to stand close enough to your light so others think they shine too. Reflection. They don't contribute to your purpose. They consume it. And if you let them, they'll drain the very passion that makes you who you are. They'll fill your days with their problems, reflection, their drama, their chaos until you forget your own goals. You'll spend your time fixing their brokenness while neglecting your healing. That's how they win, not by taking your things, reflection, but by stealing your energy. You can't keep pouring into others when your cup is empty. You can't build your dreams if you're constantly rebuilding people who refuse to help themselves. Reflection. Love doesn't mean sacrificing your spirit. Compassion doesn't mean exhaustion. Protecting your peace isn't selfish. It's survival. You owe yourself that much. Reflection. Because the people who truly care for you will never drain you to feel full. They'll pour into you just as deeply as you pour into them. Flexion. There's a kind of danger that doesn't come with shouting or confrontation. It comes with smiles. The kind that looks supportive on the surface but bleeds envy underneath. Reflection. These are the pretenders, the ones who stand beside you when the spotlight is on but step back the moment it fades. They clap for you in public, but in their hearts, they hope you trip. Reflection. They cheer just enough to look loyal, but their applause is hollow. They speak like friends, but think like rivals. They wear masks of love, reflection, but their intentions are carved out of jealousy and quiet resentment. They watch your every move, not because they admire you, but because they're keeping score. They want to know what you have, reflection, where you're going and how they can catch up, not to learn, but to compete. They want your growth to slow down so they can breathe easy again. They can't stand that you are moving, flexion, that you are rising, that your light shines without their help. And when you stumble, their sympathy comes too quick, too rehearsed, almost eager. Reflection. You can hear it in their tone. They are relieved that you've fallen back to their level. They don't say much directly. They'll never confront you openly. Instead, reflection. They work in whispers, quiet doubts, subtle shade, carefully crafted words meant to plant suspicion and tension. They'll tell others you've changed, that success made you proud, reflection, that you're not who you used to be. But the truth is, they're the ones who changed. They can't handle the new version of you, the one that no longer needs their validation, reflection, the one that no longer bows to their insecurity. They live for moments when you struggle, and they hide in silence when you shine. You'll notice it. When you achieve something big, reflection, they go quiet. No text, no call, no congratulations. But when something goes wrong, they appear instantly, pretending to care. Reflection. It's not comfort they're offering. It's satisfaction disguised as sympathy. They are addicted to your setbacks because it feeds the illusion that they're doing better than you. Reflection. And the saddest part, many of them once started with genuine love. They were friends, partners, family. But when you started walking faster, their loyalty turned to bitterness. Reflection. When you started believing in yourself, they started doubting your humility. You didn't change. Your elevation simply exposed who they really were. Reflection. Not everyone clapping for you wants you to win. Some just want to be close enough to claim your victory without earning their own. So you must learn to see beyond the smile, flexion. Don't be fooled by charm or empty words. Pay attention to consistency because real ones don't switch up when the light hits. Real ones don't disappear when you rise. Reflection. Pretenders thrive in comfort zones, but real ones grow beside you even when the ground shakes. You can't afford to keep masks in your circle. Keep your heart open, but your eyes sharper. Reflection. Because sometimes the most dangerous people in your life are not the enemies outside your gate. They're the ones sitting quietly inside, pretending to guard it. Reflection. There are people who wake up every day with the same habit, to complain. It's like a ritual for them, a language they speak fluently. They complain about the weather, the people, the world. Reflection. The system, the timing, the traffic, the smallest inconveniences of life. To them, nothing is ever right, nothing is ever enough, nothing is ever good. Reflection. And the danger of staying around such people is that their words start to shape your thoughts. Without even realizing it, their negativity begins to slip into your spirit. Reflection. You start repeating their phrases, sharing their outlook, seeing life through their fog. Their mindset becomes contagious, and before long, reflection, you find yourself focusing on what's wrong instead of what's possible. Complainers see every opportunity as a problem and every problem as a reason to quit. They are masters of excuses, reflection, always finding someone else to blame. They don't build, they criticize. They don't create, they condemn. They don't seek answers, they seek attention, reflection. Their conversations have no purpose, only pity. They thrive on sympathy, not solutions. When you talk about progress, they talk about obstacles. When you speak of dreams, they speak of doubt, reflection. And if you're not careful, you'll start dimming your light just to match their shadow. They don't even realize how much destruction their words bring, not just to others, reflection, but to themselves. The more they complain, the more their world shrinks. They trap themselves inside a cage built from their own negativity. Every complaint becomes another bar, another lock, reflection. Another reason why they'll never escape the life they hate. They've learned to find comfort in misery. Complaining gives them something to hold on to, a reason not to change, not to try, reflection, not to face the truth. Because as long as they complain, they can convince themselves it's not their fault. You can't move forward when your company is made of people who only look backward. Reflection. You can't rise when the voices around you keep pulling your eyes toward the ground. If every conversation turns into a list of problems, eventually, reflection, your spirit will start to believe that's all life is, one endless struggle. And when your faith becomes infected by their hopelessness, you stop believing in the power of your own effort. Reflection. What they don't understand is that complaining is easy, but changing takes courage. It's easier to point fingers than to take action. Reflection. It's easier to talk about the storm than to build shelter. So they stay where they are, circling the same frustration, repeating the same story, and dragging down anyone who listens long enough. Reflection. That's why you must protect your ears, because what you hear repeatedly shapes what you become. Spend enough time around complainers, and you'll forget how to be grateful. Reflection. You'll forget that even in chaos, there's beauty. You'll forget that problems are proof you're still alive and still capable of solving them. Gratitude opens doors. Reflection. Complaining closes them. Gratitude invites strength. Complaining invites weakness. If you want peace, if you want growth, if you want clarity, reflection. Walk away from those who only speak pain but never seek purpose. Because the longer you stand in their storm, the harder it becomes to remember the sun. Reflection. Jealousy is one of the most silent but most destructive forms of poison a person can carry. It hides behind friendly smiles, polite conversations, and what seems like genuine care. But deep down, reflection, jealousy burns like fire. It consumes every bit of peace a person has until all they can do is resent anyone who shines brighter than them. Reflection. The jealous soul can't celebrate your growth because your success becomes a mirror to their stagnation. Every time you rise, they are reminded of how little they've moved. Reflection. Every time you accomplish something, they see what they failed to become. They can't look at your progress without feeling small, and instead of working on themselves, reflection, they choose to hate what they see in you. They don't hate you personally, they hate what you represent. Courage, persistence, faith, discipline, belief, reflection. They see in you everything they once wished to be but never had the strength to pursue. And that's why they mask it so well. They'll congratulate you, but their eyes will tell the truth, reflection. They'll smile, but their spirit trembles with bitterness. They'll act impressed, but their mind is searching for flaws to feel better about themselves. Reflection, jealousy makes people desperate to find a way to discredit what you've built. They'll minimize your effort, claim you got lucky, or suggest you had help. Reflection. Anything that makes your win seem smaller so their ego feels safer. Sometimes they hide behind backhanded compliments. You're doing great for someone like you. Or, you've changed. Reflection, haven't you? They disguise their insecurity as humor or concern, but what they're really saying is, I can't stand that you're ahead of me. They'll watch from a distance. Reflection, waiting for your failure. And when it comes, even if it's small, they'll celebrate it in silence. It's the kind of celebration that doesn't need words. You can feel it. Reflection, you can sense it, because energy never lies. What makes jealousy dangerous is that it often comes from the people closest to you. Reflection, as strangers rarely envy you. It's usually the ones who know you, who've seen you start from nothing, who shared your early struggles. They can't handle seeing you grow past them. Reflection, they remember when you were just like them, and now that you've evolved, it hurts their pride. So they start comparing. They measure their life against yours. Reflection, not realizing that your path was never meant to match theirs. But jealousy doesn't see reason. It only sees difference. It whispers to them that your light is somehow taking away theirs. Reflection, when in truth the world has enough shine for everyone. If you stay too close to jealous souls, they'll try to pull you down without you realizing it. They'll plant doubts in your mind. Reflection, tell you to slow down, convince you that maybe you're not ready. They'll sabotage your confidence through small comments, subtle looks, tiny moments that make you question your worth. Reflection, that's how envy works, not through open hate, but through quiet corrosion. It doesn't attack the body, it attacks the spirit. And if you're not careful, reflection, you'll start shrinking yourself to make them comfortable. You'll stop celebrating your wins because you don't want to make them feel bad. You'll hide your happiness just to keep the peace. Reflection. But understand this, your light was not meant to be dimmed to protect someone else's shadow. The ones who truly care for you will never feel threatened by your growth. Flexion. They'll clap when you win. They'll push you when you slow down. And they'll believe in your dream even when you doubt yourself. The jealous ones can't do that. Reflection. Because your success feels like their failure. So protect your energy. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your success story. Reflection. Some people can only love you as long as you stay beneath them. The moment you rise, their love turns into discomfort and their support turns into silence. Don't chase their approval. Flexion. Don't explain your rise. Don't shrink your greatness. Keep shining, keep moving, keep elevating, because real light doesn't apologize for being bright. Flexion. There are people who talk about greatness like it's a story they'll live someday, yet someday never comes. They have big dreams, loud words, and endless plans. Flexion. But no action to back them up. They sit around waiting for the perfect moment, the right time, the right resources, the right motivation. But in life, there is no perfect moment. Reflection. There's only now. These people love the idea of success, but not the process of earning it. They want the reward, not the responsibility. Reflection. They love the sound of their own goals, but hate the silence that comes with discipline. They talk about change, but they never take the first step toward it. Reflection. They keep saying, I will, but I did never arrives. You can recognize them easily. They always have excuses dressed as explanations. Reflection. They'll tell you they're waiting for inspiration, trying to figure things out, or just not ready yet. But what they're really doing is hiding behind comfort. Reflection. They fear failure, so they never start. They fear judgment, so they never speak. They fear the work, so they never move. They convince themselves that staying still is safer than falling. Reflection. Not realizing that staying still is its own kind of failure. Life rewards motion. It rewards effort. It rewards courage, even imperfect courage. But lazy dreamers don't understand that. Flexion. They want the destination without the journey, the victory without the fight. Reflection. They'll talk to you for hours about their plans and visions. They'll paint pictures of a future that sounds magnificent. The business they'll start, the book they'll write. Reflection, the life they'll live. But a year later, 2 years later, they're still talking about the same thing. No progress, no movement, no sacrifice, because dreaming feels good. Flexion. Dreaming gives them a sense of accomplishment without doing the work. They've mistaken imagination for execution. Flexion. They love the fantasy of being great more than the discipline it takes to become great. The danger of being around such people is that their inaction becomes contagious. Flexion. They make laziness sound reasonable. They'll tell you to take it easy, to relax, to wait for the right time. They'll convince you that hustle is overrated. Reflection, that consistency is boring, that effort is unnecessary. But what they're really saying is, flexion, don't make me feel guilty for not trying. They want you to slow down so they can feel comfortable standing still. They're not inspired by your movement. They're threatened by it. Flexion, if you're not careful, their energy will dull your hunger. You'll start to believe their excuses. You'll start matching their pace. And before you know it, your own fire will fade. Reflection. Because when you spend enough time around those who only talk, your own action starts to sound like noise. You start to feel like maybe you're doing too much. Maybe you should wait. Reflection. Maybe you should rest. But the truth is, progress only happens when you push. Dreams only live when they're fed by work. Reflection. Lazy dreamers stay in circles of comfort. People who flatter each other for trying instead of finishing. They love to say, it's the thought that counts. But in real life, flexion. Thoughts don't count unless they're turned into action. Vision without effort is just illusion. No one ever changed their life by simply talking about it. Growth doesn't come from comfort, reflection. It comes from consistency. The real dreamers, the doors, understand that you don't need everything to start. You just need to start with what you have. Reflection. So when you find yourself surrounded by people who keep talking but never moving, don't let their pace become your prison. Keep walking, even if it's slow. Keep building. Reflection, even when no one claps. Keep trying, even when others are still planning. Because one day, when you've built what they only imagine, they'll still be standing in the same place. Reflection, wondering how you did it. And the answer will be simple. You moved when they only dreamed. There are few things more poisonous to your spirit than the company of those who live off gossip. Reflection, they are the kind of people who cannot survive a day without talking about someone else's life. They feed on rumors the way others feed on food. Constantly hungry for the next story. Reflection, the next secret, the next downfall to discuss. Their joy doesn't come from building their own path, but from dissecting the paths of others. They have opinions about everyone, reflection, yet direction for nothing. And the danger of being around them is that their noise slowly pulls you away from your purpose. You start to focus on people instead of progress, reflection on drama instead of discipline, on whispers instead of wisdom. Gossipers are not always loud. Sometimes reflection, they start with soft curiosity. Did you hear? Or I'm just telling you because I care. But beneath that concern is something darker: envy, insecurity, reflection, and the need to feel important. Gossip gives them power. It gives them a sense of control over stories they were never part of. It makes them feel relevant, reflection, even when they've done nothing worth remembering. The more they talk about others, the less they have to look at themselves. It's a distraction from their own emptiness. Reflection, you can recognize them easily. They're always in the middle of every conflict, but never part of any solution. They'll tell you stories that weren't theirs to tell, twisting details, reflection, exaggerating flaws, spreading shadows where there should be light. And the moment you walk away, they'll do the same with your name. Reflection, because that's how gossipers operate. Loyalty means nothing when conversation is currency. If they talk to you about others, they will talk about you to others. You are not the exception. Reflection, you are simply their next topic when you leave the room. The problem is, gossip doesn't just destroy reputations, it destroys trust, unity, and peace. Reflection, it plants seeds of doubt in every ear it reaches. It divides people who were once close, poisons friendships, and creates walls where there used to be bridges. Reflection, it turns communities into battlegrounds of whispers and assumptions. And the saddest part, most of the time, the stories aren't even true. But by the time the truth shows up, reflection, the damage is already done. If you stay around gossip long enough, it starts to change you. You begin to think that talking about others is normal. You start listening more and creating less. Reflection, you stop protecting people's privacy and start exposing their pain. Your heart hardens, your empathy weakens, and soon you become part of the same cycle you once hated. Reflection, gossip doesn't just live in the tongue, it infects the soul. And once it does, it takes away your peace. Reflection, because the same energy you use to tear someone down could have been used to build yourself up. Those who gossip don't realize that every word they throw out comes back like a boomerang. Reflection, the energy you put into the world always finds its way home. Speak bitterness and bitterness will visit you. Speak judgment and judgment will find you. Reflection, you can't expect blessings while you curse others. Life doesn't work that way. Every time you open your mouth to destroy someone's name, reflection, you're building a wall between yourself and your destiny. So you have to make a choice. Either spend your time talking about people, reflection, or spend it becoming the kind of person people talk about for the right reasons. Because greatness doesn't gossip. Purpose doesn't have time for pettiness. Reflection, the ones who are truly growing are too busy improving their own lives to criticize someone else's. If you want peace, stay away from those who trade secrets like currency. Reflection, because once you join their game, you lose your integrity. And that's a price no real success is worth paying. There are people who live their entire lives chained by fear. Reflection, and the most dangerous thing about them is that they spread that same fear to everyone around them. They don't attack you with anger or hate. They attack your confidence with worry, doubt, reflection, and hesitation. They always start their sentences with "be careful." What if it doesn't work? Or you know how risky that is. They sound like they care, reflection, but what they're really doing is projecting their fear onto your faith. They've built their lives inside the walls of safety, reflection, and anyone who dares to climb those walls makes them uncomfortable. So they do what scared people do best. They try to pull you back down to their level. Reflection, fear spreaders are not always negative people. Sometimes they're the ones closest to you. Family, friends, even mentors who never learn how to live beyond caution. They want the best for you, reflection, but their version of best means avoiding everything uncertain. They confuse protection with limitation. They don't realize that the same fear that kept them safe also kept them stuck. Reflection. So when you talk about stepping into something new, something unknown, something that requires courage, their instinct is to warn you. Not because they want to hurt you, reflection, but because they can't imagine surviving what they've never faced. But here's the truth. The people who live in fear will always try to convince you that faith is foolish. Reflection. They'll remind you of every failure they've seen, every dream that died, every person who tried and didn't make it. They'll bury you under statistics and stories, reflection, all in the name of being realistic. But you can't build a brave life from a fearful mind. Reality doesn't belong to the fearful. It belongs to the ones who dare to shape it. Reflection. Every invention, every breakthrough, every success that changed the world started with someone who refused to let fear dictate their steps. Fear spreaders are dangerous because they sound logical. Reflection. Their words make sense. They'll say things like, "It's too risky. You should wait. Maybe later." And you'll start to believe them. Reflection, because comfort always disguises itself as wisdom. But comfort is not wisdom. It's the slow death of purpose. Fear convinces you that safety is peace. Reflection. But safety without growth is just a softer kind of prison. The people who live by fear don't just stop themselves. They stop everyone who listens to them. Reflection. If you let their voices guide your path, you'll end up living half a life. One filled with what ifs and unfinished dreams. Reflection. You'll spend your days wondering what could have been if you had ignored their caution and followed your calling. Fear spreaders don't mean to destroy dreams. Reflection. But that's exactly what they do. They water the seed of doubt in your heart until it grows into hesitation. And hesitation always kills destiny. Reflection. You cannot climb mountains while listening to those who are afraid of heights. You have to understand that courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward in spite of it. Reflection. The ones who truly live are not the ones who never felt afraid. They're the ones who felt it and kept going anyway. Fear spreaders don't understand that kind of strength. Reflection. They only understand retreat. So when they tell you to stop, when they tell you to wait, when they tell you it's too much, remember that their limits are not yours. Reflection. Their fear is not your truth. You cannot let someone else's small vision define your destiny. You cannot let their doubts dictate your direction. Reflection. The path to greatness will always feel dangerous to those who've never walked it. So walk it anyway. Step out of their shadow, break free from their caution. Reflection. And trust that you were built for more than what they fear. Because the only thing more dangerous than failure is a life lived too safely to ever begin. At the end of the day, reflection. Life isn't about how many people surround you. It's about who deserves to walk beside you. Not everyone you lose is a loss, and not everyone who stays is meant to stay forever. Reflection. Some people come to teach you love, others come to teach you limits. But the moment you start protecting your peace, your purpose, and your energy, reflection, you begin to see who's real and who is just pretending to be. You've got to understand elevation requires separation. Reflection. You can't climb while carrying the weight of people who refuse to move. You can't fly if you keep holding hands with those who are afraid of the sky. Your life is too precious, reflection, your dream too divine, to waste it surrounded by people who don't believe in either. So walk away from the noise. Step out of the crowd. Stand tall in your truth. Reflection. Let your growth offend the lazy. Let your peace confuse the gossipers. Let your courage silence the fearful. Reflection. Because the world doesn't change when you follow the crowd. It changes when you lead yourself. And when you finally reach that place of strength, reflection, that place where you are no longer begging to be understood, but determined to be authentic, you'll realize something powerful. You never needed their approval. Reflection. You only needed your alignment. Protect your space, choose your circle wisely, and keep your heart clean. Because not everyone deserves access to your energy. Only those who feed your light. Reflection. Not those who drain it. Keep walking your path with faith, with focus, and with fire. Because your destiny is not waiting for their permission. It's waiting for your decision.